Dark stories behind the scenes of Everybody Loves Raymond that'll make you hate it. For nearly a decade, Everybody Loves Raymond was one of the most beloved sitcoms on television. But behind the scenes, things weren't always so rosy. In fact, there were many dark stories that took place during the filming of the show that would make even the most diehard fan think twice about watching it. The cast was angry Ray Romano made $1.8 million per episode, while they only got $160,000. The cast of Everybody Loves Raymond was reportedly angry that Ray Romano was making $1.8 million per episode, while they only made $160K. According to reports, the cast members felt like they were being taken advantage of, and that Romano was greedy. Cast members eventually got raises, but it's clear that there was tension behind the scenes. Sawyer Sweeten tragically died by suicide at 19 years old. Sawyer Sweeten, who played Ray Romano's on-screen son, Jeffrey Barone, on the hit sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond, tragically died by suicide at the age of 19. Sawyer's sister, Madeline Sweeten, also starred on the show as Ray's eldest daughter, Allie. The young actor passed away in April 2015, just a few months shy of his 20th birthday. Sawyer's untimely death came as a shock to many, particularly because he seemed to have everything going for him. He was a successful actor with a bright future ahead of him. But sadly, it seems that Sawyer was struggling with demons that nobody knew about. Brad Garrett kept his marital woes a secret during the show's run. The couple had been married for 9 years and were facing some serious problems. They'd been trying to work things out, but it just wasn't working. Garrett didn't want to burden the show with his personal problems, so he kept them to himself. The couple eventually divorced in 2006. It was a difficult time for Garrett, but he was able to keep it together for the sake of the show. He continued to be a great father to his children and an impeccable professional. In 2012, Garrett finally opened up about his divorce, saying that it was one of the hardest things he'd ever dealt with. He's since remarried and seems to be doing much better. Brad Garrett struggled with alcohol abuse in the early days of the show. He would often drink before filming and would sometimes show up drunk. The producers had to keep a close eye on him and make sure he was okay. Brad's alcohol problems started to affect his work, and he was eventually fired from the show. He went to rehab and got sober, but his drinking problem continued to haunt him. In recent years, Brad has been open about his struggles with alcohol and has spoken out about the need for more support for people with addiction problems. His candor has helped raise awareness of the issue and has hopefully helped others who are struggling with addiction. Peter Boyle didn't tell most of the crew or press when diagnosed with terminal cancer in 2002. As most fans know, Peter Boyle played the role of Raymond's father on the beloved sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. What many people don't know is that during the later seasons of the show, Boyle was battling terminal cancer. He chose not to tell most of the cast and crew as he didn't want his diagnosis to affect filming. In fact, Boyle continued working until just a few weeks before his death in 2006. Patricia Heaton was sued for unpaid overtime by an assistant she fired. Patricia Heaton is best known for her role as Ray Romano's wife on the long-running sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. However, in 2001, she found herself at the center of a lawsuit filed by a former assistant. The assistant claimed that she'd been fired after complaining about not being paid overtime. Heaton denied the allegations, and the case was eventually settled out of court. While the details of the settlement are confidential, it's clear that this was a difficult time for Heaton. In addition to dealing with the stress of the lawsuit, she also had to deal with the public scrutiny that came with it. Thankfully, she was able to put this incident behind her and continue her successful career. Patricia Heaton was associated with an anti-gay conservative radical. It's saddening to think that someone as beloved as Patricia Heaton could ever have been associated with an anti-gay conservative radical, but that was the case during her time on the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. Thankfully, Heaton has since disavowed her former views and is now a strong supporter of LGBTQ rights. However, it's worth looking back at her journey to see how someone can change their views on such an important issue. Hopefully her story can inspire others to do the same. Boyle got cast as Frank after showing up to his audition enraged, which fit the character. In 1996, Peter Boyle was a stand-up comedian with a few bit parts to his name. Then he landed the role of a lifetime, Frank Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond. The show was an instant hit, and Boyle became a household name, but it almost didn't happen. According to creator Phil Rosenthal, Boyle was not the first chance for the role of Frank. In fact, he wasn't even the second or third choice. But when Rosenthal saw Boyle's audition tape, he knew he'd found his Frank. Boyle had shown up to his audition enraged, which perfectly fit the character. And so one of television's most iconic characters was born. Now, more than 20 years later, Everybody Loves Raymond is still one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time. Thanks to Boyle's perfect portrayal of a grumpy dad, we'll always have a place in our hearts for Frank Barone. Brad Garrett didn't think Ray Romano could carry the show. Brad Garrett didn't think Ray Romano could carry the show during Everybody Loves Raymond. Garrett, who played Ray's brother on the popular sitcom, revealed that he wasn't sure if Romano was up to the task of being the lead actor. "I remember thinking, God, I hope this guy can carry the show," Garrett said. "It was a lot of pressure on him." Fortunately, Romano proved to be more than capable, and the show went on to become one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. Garrett's comments highlight just how much pressure actors can face when they're thrust into the spotlight. It's no wonder that so many of them end up struggling with anxiety and depression. Peter Boyle would fart on set all the time. Peter Boyle was one of the most prolific actors of his generation, appearing in over 100 films and television shows during his long career. He was also known for being a bit of a prankster on set, and he frequently let rip with some well-timed flatulence. In an interview with Howard Stern, co-star Brad Garrett recalled one particularly memorable instance where Boyle let rip during a take. "We're shooting the show, and all of a sudden I hear this noise and it's getting louder and louder," Garrett said. "I'm thinking, what the hell is that?" And then Peter just starts laughing hysterically. Boyle clearly enjoyed watching his co-stars react to his farting antics, but fortunately, they always managed to keep a straight face and get through the scene. Ray Romano's brother caught flack from his police colleagues for the show's version of him. Being a police officer is not an easy job. They put their lives on the line every day to protect and serve the public. So it's no wonder that some members of the police force were not too happy with the way Ray Romano's brother was portrayed on the hit TV show Everybody Loves Raymond. In the show, Robert Barone is a New York City police detective who's always getting into trouble. His colleagues would often give him a hard time, and he was constantly being reprimanded. Some people in the real NYPD even went as far as to send letters of complaint to the producers of the show. Thankfully, all that negative feedback didn't faze Ray Romano, and he continued to play his beloved character for 9 seasons. While Everybody Loves Raymond was a hugely successful sitcom, it was also marred by a lot of behind-the-scenes drama, from tense relationships between cast members to Phil Rosenthal's perfectionism. There were many dark stories that took place during the filming of the show. These stories give new meaning to the phrase, "Everybody Loves Raymond."